Hello and welcome to Workday at Metro. In this video, we will learn how to create a purchase requisition for items from a supplier. We will also walk through the process of finding a supplier's contract to use for a requisition that is contract related. There are two primary types of purchase requisitions in Workday, non-catalog and punch-out. We will begin the process for a non-catalog purchase. All employees at Metro have access to create a purchase requisition. Keep in mind that all requisitions run through an approval process based on an employee's organizational hierarchy and the amount of the purchase. I am logged in as Zachary Taylor, a Metro employee, and I'd like to order some t-shirts for Volunteer Day at the zoo. On the Workday homepage, I'll navigate to the search bar. I'll type Find Supplier Contracts, and select the report from the list displayed. This displays the Find Supplier Contracts dialog box. In the company field, I'll enter LMG, Louisville, Jefferson County Metro Government. In the supplier field, I'll enter MPC Promotions. I can enter data in the remaining fields to further narrow down my search. For now, I'll leave this as is and click OK. Here I can see that there are a number of contracts that we have with MPC Promotions. The one of interest to me is for t-shirts. I'll make note of the contract number and use it when I complete my purchase requisition. For now, I'll return to the home page to begin the process of creating that purchase requisition. In the search bar, I'll type Create Requisition. From the list that displays, I'll select the appropriate task. Notice that several fields auto-populate. These fields are pulled from your employee profile and assigned organizations. Fields with a red asterisk are required to move on to the next step in the process. Notice that requisition type is required, and yet there is no data entered. I'll click the prompt and select the appropriate requisition type. In this case, it's contract purchases less than $30,000. Also, I'll need to make sure that the deliver to and ship to fields are appropriately completed. In this case, I'm purchasing for the zoo, so I'll need to change these. I'm going to leave the rest of the fields as they are. Remember, these auto-populate based on your employee information. Please note your default work tags below before moving on. Next, I'll click OK. The page that displays is the instructions and options page for creating a requisition. The first thing I'll do is scroll down a bit and select Request Non-Catalog Items. Since this purchase is not being made directly from a vendor catalog, this would be the choice to be made here. On this page, the Request Non-Catalog Items page, I'll double check to make sure that the requisition currency is correct. It's marked as USD for US dollars. I'll also want to make sure that I'm selecting the correct request type. My choices are to request goods or to request services. Request goods defaulted, and I'll leave that as is. Now I'll enter the details regarding the goods to be ordered. Remember, this is just an example of how to procure unique goods. If you're ordering from a supplier's quote, ensure that your purchase order line items match the line items on the quote. If there is no quote, write a detailed description of the goods to be ordered. This section will print on the purchase order that is sent to the supplier. For this requisition, I'll enter the item to be purchased and the quote number since I have a quote. I'll be attaching the quote on the next screen. The supplier item identifier is not required, but it can be used if you want to reference a supplier part number on your purchase order. I'll leave that blank for now. Next, I'll enter the commodity code. Notice that the spend category also auto-populates. The commodity code classifies the type of expense associated with the transaction and drives the appropriate spend category. The spend category routes a transaction's credits and debits to the appropriate ledger account once a transaction is submitted and approved. Once you enter the commodity code, as noted before, the spend category automatically populates. If it doesn't auto-populate, you'll have to use the prompt icon to search the spend categories for an appropriate selection. Now I'll enter the supplier, and I'll enter or select the supplier contract. If you recall from when I looked up the supplier contract, I noted this contract number for t-shirts, so I'll select it. Next, I'll enter the quantity to be ordered, which is 150, and the unit cost, which is $12 each. Notice that the extended amount will automatically calculate the unit cost by the quantity. I'll need to select a unit of measure, and I have a number of choices here. In this case, I'll select each. The memo field on this page is internal to the department. As the requisition moves through the approval process, approvers will be able to see the memo. If this is a federally funded purchase, enter federal in the memo field. For this example, that's not necessary. However, I'll enter one-time purchase to make sure that the approvers know that this is not a recurring purchase. Then I'll click Add to Cart. As you can see, this returns me to the Request Non-Catalog Items screen. I can add additional items to the cart by repeating the steps I just did. Each item I add will be a separate line on the requisition. But for now, I'll just check out. To check out, I'll click the cart icon in the upper right corner of the screen, and then I'll click Checkout. Before moving on, I'll summarize what has happened so far. I created a requisition for a specific type of good that is not found on Metro supplier catalogs. In this case, I ordered t-shirts for Volunteer Day at the zoo. I indicated the amounts needed, the supplier that provides these items, and included comments letting approvers know information about the purchase. Now I'm going to fill out the billing details associated with the purchase of this item. On the checkout page, the requisition information section auto-populates some of the information from previous screens. The sourcing buyer field should be left blank. Notice that the memo fields allow you to leave comments specifically for the suppliers and for internal purposes. I'll scroll down to the goods line and review the auto-populated fields for accuracy. Make sure that you scroll far to the right to view all of the fields. Notice that the system auto-populated the cost center and the fund. If the work tag fields need to be updated, you can do that here. Always be sure to review the requisition prior to submission. When I scroll to the right, I can see the splits icon, which allows you to split the requisition. When splits are added to a purchase requisition, the requisition will route to the appropriate cost center approvers. Splits should be added by the person submitting the purchase requisition. I'm not going to walk through this process now. One of our final steps is to add an attachment to this purchase requisition. In this case, we will add the original quote from the supplier. If I scroll down, I can see the attachments heading. If I click the arrow to the left of attachments, it will reveal a dialog box in which I can drop files, or I can click Select Files and choose the files from my desktop. Before I click Submit, I'll review what I've done. On the page prior to this, I gave the details of the items, supplier, and expense details. On this page, I reviewed the shipping and billing information associated with the purchase and attached the original quote from the supplier. To submit the requisition, I'll click Submit. This will initiate the approval process for this non-catalog purchase requisition. Now that I've walked through an example of a non-catalog purchase, I'll walk through the process for punching out of Workday to a supplier's website in order to purchase goods from their catalog. Workday has been set up to integrate with Amazon, Grainger, CDW, Dell, and Office Depot for seamless online purchases. For a supplier website purchase, I'll start the same way as I did for the non-catalog purchase. I'll navigate to the search bar and enter Create Requisition, or I'll select it from my recent searches. I'll enter the information as I did before. In the requisition type, I'll select Small Purchase Authority, $5,000 or less. I need to make sure that I've selected an appropriate entry for the Deliver To field. Once I'm satisfied that everything is completed correctly, I'll click OK. On this screen, I'll scroll down a bit until I see Connect to Supplier Website. I'll click that link. Here I can see the various vendors to which Workday is connected. I want to purchase from Grainger Punchout, so I'll select Connect to the far right. Now that I'm connected to the vendor's website, I can select my items and add them to my cart. I can review my cart, and once I'm satisfied that everything is correct, I'll click Submit Cart. I'll need to click Submit Cart one more time. As you can see, I've been returned to the Workday site. Here, I can review the items that have been added to my cart and click Checkout. As you'll notice, an error has appeared. If I click on that, I can read the error, which says commodity code is required. If I close the error and then scroll down, I can look at my items, and here I can add a commodity code. I'll need to do that for the second line item as well. As you can see, the spend category has been auto-populated based on the commodity code. If I scroll down and scroll over, I can review the information, and if desired, I can add a split. Once I've completed that, I'll click Submit. Once submitted, Workday manages all routing for approvals, uses the negotiated supplier pricing, and manages all financial processing and coordination behind the scenes. Thank you for watching this demonstration of creating purchase requisitions in Workday. For more support and information, visit My Metro and visit the support area of the Project Emerge page.